Is it better to have loved a robot and lost, or to have never loved a robot at all?
Wonder with us.
Theme song.
I'm Bethany.
I'm still Connor.
And this is Wonder with us.
It's still a podcast.
Talking about the Twilight Zone.
Episode 7. Lonely.
The Lonely.
Is it the or is it just lonely?
It is the.
Are you sure it's the?
Lonely. Yes.
You want to put a bet on it?
I do.
I'll bet you.
All right.
I'll bet you.
Same bet?
Name your terms. On air.
Nope.
Name your terms.
This is also a loser's bet for you because it is the Lonely.
It's lonely.
It's not.
Lonely?
Pause to Google.
Don't have time for that. You know how I feel about phones in the room. So this episode originally aired November 13th, 1959. So long ago, it's not even funny. Was written by Rod Serling, the brain daddy himself. Directed by Jack Smite. Subsequently, I'm not looking at your phone, my favorite last name of any director so far. Was produced by Buck Houghton. Executive producer on that one was also the brain daddy.
Oh.
Music by, once again, fan favorite Bernard Herrmann, as well as some stock music from Eric Cook. Cinematography done by George T. Clemens. He's back, y'all. He's back.
He's never really left. I mean, he's been our constant through most of it, yeah? So
How dare you.
continue.
And then edited by Joseph. Edited by Joseph. I'm so drunk, I'm not God.
Happy New Year, y'all. It's late.
This isn't going to air anywhere New Year.
No, but we're coming off of it, so...
Oh my God, don't tell people how long we sat on this episode before it got published.
It's all right.
Edited by Joseph. Oh my God, why can't I say Joseph? Joseph.
Try it one more time.
Edited by Joseph Gluck, if I got his name right.
Gluck.
I've got it written Gluck. I feel like that can't possibly be right.
Huh.
Please hold while I research my research.
Dude. Right here.
Baby, I've got it on a giant screen in front of me. Please keep your Samsung 7-inch to yourself.
Hey, this would have been a good ad spot.
It's too early for an ad spot.
Isn't.
It is. Ads are reserved for bathroom breaks. I've also got the wrong episode pulled up. Hold, please.
Also, quick note, just so I don't make a complete fool of myself, is the captain Allenby or Allensby with an S? You can clarify that for me real quick.
I believe it's Allenby, no S, but I will verify. Hold, please.
Because I wrote it down as Allenby.
Allenby, no S.
Well cast.
It's Joseph Gluck. Gluck, edited by Joseph Gluck.
Why does the time look different? Oh, thanks.
Yeah, sure thing. I did my part.
Yeah.
Carry your weight, woman.
Did you put down the first air date?
I already said the first air
Open
date.
with that.
November 13th,
Sorry,
1959.
I wasn't listening.
I know.
So essentially, this episode follows a prisoner convicted of murder named James A. Corey,
Played by one Jack Warden.
who I will be referring to as Corey throughout all of this because I'm still not certain, even having watched it a couple of times, whether or not his first name is actually mentioned. Maybe they just put it in for casting credit. The character, I mean. Because
Right.
we only hear him referred to as Corey. So
Yes.
I will be referring to him as Corey.
However, real quick, Jack Warden, I did not know this watching the episode. I didn't know until I saw his name who he was, because I'd never realized it was the same guy. But Jack Warden went on to do all kinds of interesting movies and shows, including Heaven Can Wait and All the President's Men, as well as Dirty Work alongside Artie Lang and Norm Macdonald.
Didn't his filmography span over like 60 years or something?
I have no idea. I don't do that much research. Thanks for calling me out.
You're welcome. Anywho, James A. Corey, prisoner, convicted of murder, played by Jack Warden, is sentenced to live out his 50-year sentence, his 50-year term, on a distant asteroid, bringing back the sci-fi.
Which they specifically mention is 9 million miles from Earth. Slight oversight is that the closest asteroids to us that aren't like miniature asteroids are on the belt, which is like 200 million miles away.
Yeah. Well,
They probably didn't know that at the time.
I mean, the Brain Daddy did refer to this in the opening narration as a tiny speck of dust of an asteroid. So, it could be a
How dare you?
teeny tiny one that's closer.
How dare you step in and take my smart moment and make me sound dumb?
I did not do
How
no such
dare
thing.
you? How dare you?
Might I continue pulling my weight, love?
No, right, yeah, that's the thing. Go for it. I'm so drunk I'm not good.
So he is meant to do solitary confinement on this asteroid by himself. And every 4 years, he is visited by a one Captain Allenby, who is played by John Denner. Is that right?
Yes,
Is
yes,
it Denner?
John. I assume it's pronounced Denner, Dehner, Denner.
Sure.
Who was, holy God, the number of bad westerns that man was in.
I think
For
it's
the love of all things unholy, so many bad westerns. It's like half my father's collections of movies this man is in.
I think it's safe to say that a majority of this cast, the entirety of the cast, their filmography is stretched
Absolutely
so far.
horrendously large between the like 5 people that were cast.
The 5 people that were credited as cast members continued.
Just insane filmography between them all.
Yeah. So there's that. But Captain...
I have to specify. I'm sorry. I specified for Jack. I have to specify.
Go on.
So John Denner played alongside Clint Eastwood in Rawhide. 5 different characters over his time on Rawhide. Was also in Gunsmoke, played Sam Wall.
Continue. Sorry.
Just got crop dusted by her dog.
Yeah.
And played 3 different characters in The Restless Gun as well over the course of like 5 years.
I don't know what any of those are, but I recognize Clint Eastwood, so there's that.
Rawhide was an absolutely, because my father will listen to this, great television show. As was The Restless Gun. I will say Gunsmoke is a great movie. I'm a big fan of Gunsmoke.
Was it adapted as a TV show?
Gunsmoke?
Yeah. Or was it just a movie? I don't know.
I haven't the slightest. If it was adapted as a TV show, I don't know.
Because I know the name, I just...
Anywho's it?
Anywho's it? Moving on.
Robots.
Every 4 years, Mr. Corey is visited by Captain Allenby, played by John Denner, whose spacecraft regularly brings Corey supplies from Earth 4 times a year. Just 4 times a year. And he and his crew can only stay approximately 15 minutes.
On this trip.
Every visit. Each visit, 15 minutes max.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought it was just this one because of a storm.
No. It was specified 15 minutes max because of the continual orbit of the asteroid and how much fuel is used by his spacecraft. He has to time it exactly right. Otherwise, they're going to be stuck for the upwards of 2 to 4 weeks.
Good God, them space shoots. Space shoots? Space suits.
Words are fun tonight, baby. Yes.
Nobody's going to believe I'm sober.
That's all right. I know.
You don't know anything.
Yeah, so otherwise, if he stayed longer, if they stayed longer than 15 minutes, it would make a return visit or a return trip to Earth almost impossible, risking their life and safe departure.
Without waiting like 4 weeks to try again or something if they missed their window.
Sure. And Allenby...
He says that. Just sure me. Like I'm drunkenly spouting nothingness.
It was an affirmation. I was agreeing with you.
You're a potato pancake.
I also won that bet, just so you know.
I don't know what you're talking about. You never named your terms.
You know the terms.
I don't know the terms. If it wasn't recorded, it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. So, Allenby, this is important. Allenby believes that Corey was wrongfully convicted of murder.
Does he mention that prior to coming back the last time?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's more implied when he tells him about his pardon being rejected. He says that his pardon was rejected, and his sentence will resume as such, and then he leaves, and then he comes back. But
Gotcha.
he believes that Corey was wrongfully convicted and sympathizes with him. Thus, each visit that he comes to bring him supplies, he tries to also supply him with some small comforts, that will keep his mind off constant loneliness. So, like, he brought him car parts so that he could rebuild, what is it, an old Model T? I don't know what kind of car that was.
I don't remember.
Anyway, old car, little things to keep him busy. All of that.
Little things to help preserve his sanity, keep him from getting bored, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That's a very, very nice thing.
It's a very humane thing. Like, dude, if you're going to be out in space on an asteroid in solitary confinement...
Yeah, you got an asteroid to yourself.
Like, you need
some stuff to not be bored. Mm-hmm. Unless, of course, he actually committed the murder, in which case, be bored for 1,000 years or however long you're there.
What was interesting, too, is what was actually mentioned was that when his pardon was rejected, he told him that the review backlog was like 50 years or more, that they were behind. So his sentence was 50 years in solitary on this asteroid, but their backlog for review was 50 years plus. So it was going to take him...
He wasn't getting pardoned.
Pretty
he was
much.
Going to die long before that.
On that asteroid, yeah. So 4 years in to his stay, Allensby comes by and brings him a crate. And this time, unlike the other times, tells him to wait to open it. So it was like him and the crew members moving this crate in. And so he kind of drops it and says, okay, don't open it until we leave. Goodbye. And they move back.
And then refuses to tell his crew what was actually in the crate.
Yeah.
Stating something ambiguous like it's hope or it's another chance or something to that effect.
It was something vague that gave them really no idea what it was. So drops the crate and they book it back to the aircraft, and he's kind of just standing there, and then he gets it open, and then he pulls out a piece of paper. I'm assuming part of an instructional tag.
Instruction manual.
Sure.
Tell you how to use your new...
That says that he is now the proud owner of a female robot.
It's a robot, folks. He calls it a robot.
He does.
It's hilarious, and I will never say robot again.
Robot is now my thing.
Robot.
So he has a female robot to keep him company. And the beautiful thing is, and it doesn't quite say this, so this is my summary of what their instructional informational tag was.
Lay it on me.
Wrapped in synthetic skin and programmed to feel emotions, have memories, and have a lifespan that is comparable to that of a natural female human. Alicia, who is now his female companion, robot, played by...
Jean Marsh.
Oh, okay. Is she...
Oh my God, that backlog of filmography.
Is hers more extensive than...
So hers is more interesting to me than anybody else in the cast for one specific reason.
Okay.
And that's that of her filmography, I recognized Sense and Sensibility, which she plays Mrs. Fars, and Doctor Who,
hey,
where she plays Sarah Kindom, I think. is her last name.
Not familiar. Surprise, surprise.
Other than those two, absolute profusion of movies and TV shows that I have never heard of. Just a conglomeration of...
Are we talking like multiple a year kind of thing? That her filmography wasn't just like one or two a year, but
I
it was
didn't
like
even check the dates. I was just
so
scrolling
many.
through, feeling absolutely bewildered by my lack of information about this person's career. I had never heard of, well, like I said, other than two of the one movie, one show that I came across.
Mm-hmm.
A slew of them, absolutely, like every bit as many as most of the other cast members, and just mind-boggling unrecognizability in her filmography.
Was this before or after the 1959 casting of this Twilight Zone episode?
Both.
Both?
Yeah.
Dang. All right.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't her first.
Well, sure.
And it sure as hell wasn't her last.
Yeah.
It was just
She
in the
went
middle. So I guess I recognized three. Just in the middle of a filmography of so many things.
Mm-hmm.
So many unrecognizable things. And if I recall correctly, she's one of the few that we've come across that is still alive and who you can still get her agent's contact information for.
Yeah. She's
which
84.
I found and didn't call.
She's 84 and still active.
Is this the year?
The year?
Is this the year that she gets her Oscar?
I mean, probably.
Moving on.
It's the roaring 20s again. Anything can happen.
I will not stand for that. I will not have it. I will not stand for it. I am not okay with it. I will not buy a suit. You hear me, hipsters? Are you listening, hipsters?
You don't want a three-piece suit?
No three-piece suit revivals.
And a fancy hat.
We are doing perfectly fine as a nation wearing jeans. Do not do this to me.
Corey finds himself a female robot. Her name is Alicia.
Robots.
Yes. But he is much too realistic for her. And also, like, just visually in this scene when he's, like, reading the tag and then he looks up. She's just kind of standing there.
Well, she hasn't been activated at this point.
No, she looks very unactivated, and that was very disturbing for me. She's in a sundress, in sandals. Her hair kind of is Elvira-esque.
She does look like Elvira Light in this role.
Yeah. And she's just kind of standing there deactivated, and then he kind of looks over at her, and then I don't remember how he activates her.
Says her name.
So that happens. And then he just, like, he can't comprehend it. He can't wrap his brain around it.
He has an immediate visceral reaction to her as non-human.
Yeah.
As a feelingless robot.
Right.
He seems almost insulted.
He is pissed off because he thinks that it was just a cruel joke by Allenby to taunt him, giving him something that's female-like, but just wires and metal.
Gadgets and doodads and boobobs.
But he, in his rage in this moment, doesn't he grab her arm then? Is that what happens?
I don't remember if it's in the same scene or if it's in the following scene.
Because I know it's early on. After
yeah,
the
it's within a couple of minutes of us seeing her get activated.
Where he grabs her arm.
Tells her she can't feel.
And then realizes, like, she points out, like, that hurt me. And she starts crying. And
oh my God, we see tears.
When she starts crying, like,
tears.
Liquid robot tears, he's like, oh shit. Like, this might be a real thing. So then, naturally, as time passes, over the next 11 months, he falls in love with her.
With a robot.
With a robot.
With a robot. You hear that, Japan?
I mean, it's a real thing.
They were ahead of the time.
I had to look up.
You should not have done that.
Where he got this idea.
Your phone is linked with the Wi-Fi. I'm going to be getting ads for Japanese robots now.
It's some scary shit what's actually happening. But that's another story for another time.
You're being hateful.
So he falls in love with
robots deserve love too.
Robot. And
let the robots love.
Love is love is love, I
Unless
suppose.
it's with a robot.
Well, yeah. So then, we kind of see their little snidbits of like their daily life, and they're doing things together, and he's super excited to have another companion and blah blah blah. She also like develops a personality that is compatible and comparable to his, which kind of I guess helps if he's the only person there.
Yeah, they don't explain that, but
we see it.
We do see it to an extent. I believe we see them playing chess together at one point.
Yep. And she's like learning. He's trying to teach her, and just kind of the ways that she responds. It's pretty. Like you can tell it's not like normal, but also
What is normal?
Passing.
What is normal? Is normal walking into a studio after work and recording a podcast about a show that's been off the air forever? Is this normal? Are we normal, or are we just robots sitting behind microphones?
This is our normal.
Well, that's depressing. Let's move on.
So, time passes. Captain Allenby returns again.
He does.
Assuming for his third trip this year.
But this time, it's off schedule.
Mm-hmm.
He's early.
Because he has news.
What news?
The news.
What news do you bring, Allenby?
Corey has been pardoned.
Oh, dear God, it hasn't even been 55 years.
I know.
It's been months.
Unexplainably, it happened. He's been pardoned. Thinking that Corey was going to, like, jump for joy. He's like...
He does. Corey initially jumps for joy. He's excited. He's been pardoned. Of course he's excited.
And then, Allenby tells him, hey, we got 20 minutes. Like, normally it's 15.
Go.
Normally it's 15. We got 20 minutes. So, we can also only carry, like, 15 pounds of luggage.
Because we got a ship, we got fuel, we got a bottom line.
Not considering that his beloved robot Alicia is not human. They were not taking that into consideration. And she's definitely more than 15 pounds.
Which he points out.
Right.
He points out that she's more than 15 pounds. Not immediately. It takes him a minute before he realizes, because at this point we see that Corey is no longer thinking of Alicia as a thing, as in this case luggage, as it takes him a fair minute to realize that they are counting Alicia as baggage,
as a thing,
as luggage. Mm-hmm. And as Corey understandably points out, she weighs more than 15 pounds, which means they can't bring her with them.
Which at that point he starts arguing and like frantically,
she's a real person. She's a real boy.
Trying to figure out a way to get Allenby to like take her, to allow her to go.
Which he doesn't even entertain the thought for a second.
No, in fact, during this argument, and this I actually had to like, in my research I was reading over like production notes and kind of script, transcriptions of the script. Is that a thing?
Sure, it sounds like a thing. I mean, they're all words.
I was reading stuff.
And any things in that?
Some things, but mostly stuff.
Mostly stuff.
In that, Allenby does not entertain this at all. He shoots her in the face.
Yes.
He
shoots her in the face while Corey is trying to convince her to explain to Allenby that she's a real person. Mm-hmm. That she's not a robot at all. She's a real person.
She's being very slow to respond because her computer brain can't process the gravity of the situation. And so he shoots her in the face to mostly prove to Corey, like...
It's a robot, Corey.
It's a robot. Also... him shooting her in the face ultimately shatters Corey's delusional hopes, revealing...
Along with Alicia's face.
Well, yeah. Revealing the robot beneath. So the wires...
That was deep.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Almost as deep as the bullet in Alicia's face.
Oh, lodged in her memory board.
Lodged in her motherboard, lodged in her hard drive. It's really hard to tell what what bits are stored in the head of Alicia.
It's
Essentially what we see is sparks and computerware and gears and gadgets.
She continues as her vocal processor is going out.
Crashes in front of Corey's eyes.
She's just repeating Corey, 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 over and over and over again. Until that happens. And that is the end. And so they're sitting there.
It's super abruptly.
Right. So he shoots her in the face. We're watching this. And also, I'd like to make a note that, like, in this time period, like in the 50s, the fact that, like, that was violent. I mean, granted, we don't actually see the bullet hit her face, but there's just enough time between the gunfire sound and her moving and then us, like, the camera panning to her face to see the massive hole in her face that you're like, holy shit, a woman just got shot in the face. Like, I can imagine.
Sorry, is that more violent than a man essentially pushing his wife off a 14-story building? You remember, last week?
No. I mean, no. But, like...
Given it's violent. We watched a robot get shot in the face.
This is a different type of violence because last week she stepped backwards and fell. She died
trying to protect her husband, which gives off an entirely different image than the very personal violence that is a gunshot at point-blank range to the face of one's loved robot.
Right. Yes. So we see her face, you know, and the
what's left of it.
The vocal processor going out, and Corey's just kind of standing there in shock, like doesn't know how to handle this situation. Time is ticking, but Captain Allenby does take a moment to monologue with him, to tell him dialogue with him, to tell him that, you know,
it's hard to monologue with somebody.
I know, it's fine.
You can monologue at somebody,
I suppose.
I monologue at you regularly.
You do. I listen to half of it.
That's more than you should.
So he's telling him, you know, this is really just a bad dream. Soon you're going to be on the spaceship, and then you're going to go to sleep, and then you're going to wake up, and you're going to be home. And he, like, very vacant-eyedly repeats in a soft voice, home? Yes, it's just going to be a bad dream. But he ends all of this dialogue with, you're only leaving loneliness behind here. And this episode ends with Corey just kind of looking at the camera, and I'll have to remember that. Because you're only leaving loneliness behind here. And he says, I must remember that. I must remember to keep that in mind. And then it ends.
Fade to black.
Yeah.
Roll credits.
Yeah. So they hold, like...
That's the episode.
The big dramatic thing that happened, like the biggest thing that happened in that entire episode was a robot got shot in the face.
That's a pretty big deal.
I mean, the story itself...
This is 1959. Like, yeah. That robot was expensive.
Yeah.
NASA spent a lot of money on that robot for a man on an asteroid to have sex with, I assume.
Well, I don't want to go there.
You don't have to think about it. We don't see it.
Yeah.
It's implied. He falls in love with her.
It's very much implied, but we don't... All right. So thanks for wondering with us.
No, we can't end it there.
Why not?
Because we're only half an hour in, and I still have to edit this down to a half-an-hour episode.
Oh. You mean we did it?
We did it. We finally did it. Let's sign off.
Okay.
You were right. I was wrong. Let's sign off. Do the sign off.
Thanks for wondering with us.
We'll see you next time. Also, I'm Connor.
Oh, shit. I'm Bethany.